My neighbor always offered to walk me to my car after dark. Then one night, I left my keys inside. When I came back, he was standing in my living room. So I guess this is gonna be one of those I never thought I'd post here things, but honestly, I'm typing this from under a weighted blanket at 2:43 a.m. with a kitchen knife on the nightstand. I feel like that sets the tone. For context, I'm 26, live alone, and I've been on Reddit forever, mostly just reading, never posting. I used to scroll through r/let's not meet or r/2x chromosomes and think, damn, people go through wild stuff. Well, guess what? Now I'm one of them. I'm not looking for advice and I'm definitely not trying to be dramatic, but I need to say this out loud somewhere. Or type it. Just to make sure I'm not losing my grip on reality. This whole thing started pretty harmless. My neighbor, let's call him Kyle, seemed nice. A little awkward but polite. Helped me carry groceries once. Offered to walk me to my car a few times after dark. I said thanks, thought nothing of it. Just a neighbor being a decent human, right? Except now I keep thinking about that time he said, I always look out for the girls in this building. We gotta protect our own. And how he said it with a smile. And how his hand lingered just a little too long when he handed me my mail. And how I used to think that was just him being friendly. Until I came home and found him standing in my living room. I always thought I was pretty good at reading people. Picking up on the subtle cues, the lingering glances, the too long pauses, the way someone's smile doesn't quite reach their eyes. But Kyle? He slipped right under my radar. When I first moved into the building, Kyle was one of the first neighbors to introduce himself. He had this boy-next-door charm, messy brown hair, wire-rimmed glasses, and a wardrobe that screamed, I own multiple flannel shirts. He offered to help me carry boxes, made small talk about the weather, and even brought over a plate of cookies his mom had baked. Looking back, I never did see him with any visitors. Over the next few weeks, our interactions were friendly but brief. He'd hold the elevator door, comment on my choice of takeout, or mention a new show he was watching. Harmless stuff. Then came the offers to walk me to my car when I had late shifts. It's not safe for a woman to be alone at night, he'd say with a concerned look. I appreciated the gesture, even if it felt a tad overprotective. One evening I was juggling groceries and my phone when I dropped my keys in the stairwell. I didn't notice until I reached my apartment door. Frustrated, I retraced my steps, only to find Kyle holding them out to me. Found these on the stairs. Thought you might need them, he said with a grin. I thanked him, a bit embarrassed, and we parted ways. Fast forward a few days. I had a particularly exhausting day at work and was eager to unwind. As I approached my apartment, I noticed the door was slightly ajar. Panic set in. I pushed it open cautiously, heart pounding, only to find Kyle standing in my living room. He looked up, startled, as if I was the intruder. Your door was open, he said calmly. I thought something might have happened. I was speechless. My mind raced with questions. Why was he here? How did he get in? I always locked my door. Always. I appreciate your concern, but you need to leave, I managed to say, trying to keep my voice steady. He hesitated, looking genuinely hurt. I was just trying to help. I stood my ground, and after a tense moment, he nodded and walked out without another word. That night, sleep was elusive. Every creak and groan of the building set me on edge. The next morning, I contacted the landlord to express my concerns. He dismissed it as a misunderstanding, assuring me that Kyle was a model tenant. Unsatisfied, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I purchased a security camera and installed it discreetly above my door. Days turned into weeks and I began to relax, thinking perhaps I had overreacted. Then one evening I reviewed the footage. There he was. Kyle. Standing outside my door. Not knocking. Not moving. Just standing. For minutes. Sometimes longer. Always late at night. In one clip, he held something in his hand. I zoomed in. My old keychain. The one I thought I'd lost. A cold realization washed over me. He had a copy of my key. I felt violated, unsafe in my own home. I changed the locks, informed the landlord again, and considered involving the police. But without concrete evidence of wrongdoing, I feared they'd dismiss my claims. I started staying with friends, avoiding my apartment as much as possible. But I knew I couldn't run forever. Then a week later, I received an anonymous envelope under my door. Inside was a USB drive labeled "For Your Eyes Only." Hesitant, I plugged it into my laptop. A video played. Grainy footage of Kyle in his apartment, talking to himself. Rambling about me. About how we were meant to be together. About how he watched over me to keep me safe. About how no one else understood me like he did. I was terrified. This was the proof I needed. I took the footage to the police, filed a restraining order, and began the process of reclaiming my sense of security. It's been months since then. Kyle moved out, and I haven't seen him since. But the memory lingers. The feeling of being watched. The betrayal of trust. I share this story not for sympathy but as a cautionary tale. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. And always, always lock your doors. The morning after that night, the night I sent her the video, everything around me felt wrong. Like my apartment had been stretched just slightly too wide, like it wasn't calibrated to reality anymore. My coffee mug didn't sit right in my hand. The hallway light flickered like it was mocking me. Every sound, a door slamming, a dog barking, a truck outside, felt like it had claws. I couldn't go into work. I told my boss I had food poisoning, which technically wasn't a lie. Something inside me had turned toxic and I couldn't hold anything down. I packed a bag with whatever I could find. Toothbrush, phone charger, backup hard drive, the hoodie I always reach for when I feel like I'm disappearing. And I drove across town to Erin's place. Now Erin's been my best friend since college. We were freshman roommates, total opposites. She was the punk poet with a Costco card type. Tattoos, boots, sharp opinions. I was still ironing my socks. But we clicked. She's the kind of person who doesn't ask, "Are you okay?" She just shows up with Thai food and puts on reruns of Bones. She doesn't believe in small talk or hand lotion. She believes in facts, in instinct, in backup plans. She opened the door and didn't even ask. Just said, "How long you staying?" and handed me a spare key. That night, I showed her the video. No preamble. Just, "You need to see this," and I hit play. I watched her watching it. She didn't blink, didn't interrupt. When it ended, she said, "You realize this is evidence, right?" I nodded. She looked at me. Not scared. Not angry. Just still. "We're going to the cops tomorrow," she said. I said okay. But I didn't sleep. Again. Not because of the content, I'd seen it, lived it. But because once you know, you can't unknow. That video was a mirror and a bomb. The next morning, Erin dragged me to a legal aid clinic first. Her cousin works there, Rebecca. Sharp as hell. She helped me put together a formal incident report. Timelines. Screenshots. The video. Emails. We printed everything twice, like this was some mid-2000s spy movie. I remember Rebecca saying, "Don't let shame delay you. Predators thrive on silence." We went straight to the police station. Sitting in that waiting room was like holding your breath underwater while someone's listing all your worst mistakes out loud. I kept thinking they wouldn't believe me. That they'd say I was dramatic. That they'd watched worse TikToks and survived. But the officer who took my statement, Officer Lowe, he didn't laugh. He didn't interrupt. He just kept nodding, asking questions like, "Has he ever shown up at your workplace, and do you have proof he had a key?" I told him about the night he walked me to my car. About how I'd forgotten my keys. How I went back inside and found him already inside. That's when Lowe leaned back and said, "We're filing a protective order." They took copies of everything. Even offered an escort back to my apartment so I could pack more stuff. I said yes, even though every cell in my body screamed no. I hadn't been back since I'd left for errands. I hadn't wanted to. But part of me needed to know if he'd left anything behind. 2 uniformed officers came with me. They walked in first. I stood outside like a guest in my own life. When they gave me the all clear, I stepped inside. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. My plants were dead. My fridge smelled like guilt and mold. But there were signs. A glass in the sink that wasn't mine. The bathroom mirror slightly fogged like someone had showered. One of my pillows flipped over. And in my closet, his hoodie folded neatly on top of my sweaters. One of the cops, the younger one, just said, "Jesus." I left with 2 duffels and a hard drive. The rest? Didn't feel like mine anymore. Back at Erin's, I sat on the couch, fully clothed, just staring. Erin handed me a hot mug of something, tea maybe, and said, "We'll fix this." Then came the email. No subject. No body. Just one sentence. "You should have trusted me." I almost dropped the mug. I showed Erin. She swore out loud, called Officer Lowe. He told me not to reply. That the email was likely routed through a VPN. That it might not even be traceable. But he also said something that stuck with me. He said he's not trying to reach you. He's trying to rattle you. Don't give him the satisfaction. Erin sat next to me that night. We didn't talk much. Just watched dumb YouTube videos and drank 2 sweet wine and pretended the world outside didn't exist. But I kept replaying that sentence. "You should have trusted me." Like he was the one who got betrayed. Like he was the victim. And that's when it hit me. He's not just dangerous. He's a goddamn story addict. And I was his favorite chapter. A few days passed like I was underwater. Everything was slower, heavier, kind of numb around the edges. I kept checking over my shoulder when I walked to my car, even when it was daylight. I started sleeping with my phone under my pillow, something I hadn't done since I was like 17 and thought I had to be ready for a breakup text at any moment. My brain kept running a loop I couldn't shut off. Not the video, weirdly. Not his voice. Just her face when she said he told me this was fake. The thing is, I knew she believed it wasn't. I saw it in her eyes. But it still shook me how easily he could spin it. How quickly he'd move to, "It's all edited, he's obsessed, you're just the next one he's trying to poison." It wasn't about her believing me. It was about realizing how well he'd rehearsed for this. He knew I'd hold on to that footage. He counted on it. Maybe even wanted me to. So he could control the narrative, twist it into some delusion of the ex trope. That was the part one couldn't stop circling back to. That all of this, his charm, his darkness, the girls, the timing wasn't random. It was designed. I don't even remember going to work that week. I think I called in sick twice. Erin brought over groceries and charged my ring cam. She was quiet, but not in a judgmental way. In a strategizing way. The kind of quiet people get when they've already decided that violence might be necessary and they're just waiting to see if you'll let them get away with it. Then came Thursday. Mid-morning. Cloudy sky, hot like summer, hadn't figured out it was over. I was eating cereal straight from the box, scrolling Reddit ironically when I got a DM from another account I didn't recognize. Hey, I'm sorry to bother you. I saw the video. I think you should know I'm his cousin. My heart stopped. Like physically, I felt my blood slow. They sent a screenshot. It was the file. Same timestamp. Same frame. My car dashboard in the corner. Please don't block me, they added. I'm not here to defend him. I just need to talk. We ended up on a call that night. I didn't record it, I wish I had. But I wrote everything down after. They told me that growing up, he was weird but smart. That he used to dissect roadkill for science. That when he was 11, a neighbor's dog disappeared and he said, well, it was loud. That their uncle once told him off for throwing rocks at birds and he laughed and said, there's more where that came from. They also said he always talked about stories. About how the scariest villains are the ones you root for first. That hit me harder than anything. Because that's exactly what he was. You root for him. You love him. Then you see his shadow. I asked the cousin why they reached out now. They said their aunt found something in a drawer at their grandma's house, something that didn't make sense. A list. With names. Some were people they knew. Some weren't. But mine was on it. So was Aaron's. So was the girl's. Then they said this. I don't think he ever planned to do anything. I think he liked making people believe he might. And that somehow was worse. Because at least if he was a monster, you could fight him. But if he was just playing one, where does the threat stop? Where do you draw the line between manipulation and murder when the person behind it doesn't believe in either? The cousin said they'd go to the police. I told them I already had copies of everything ready. That if anything happened to me, 5 different people would receive that video. That Aaron had it. That even my boss knew something was up. That I wasn't scared anymore. And I wasn't. Not in the traditional sense. What I felt was colder. Cleaner. Like the part of me that used to panic had finally burned out. Now it was just vigilance. Calm. Methodical. I started sleeping again, weirdly enough. Not great, but better. I started writing again. Aaron convinced me to block him permanently, even the burner numbers. I untagged myself from every photo. I deleted all the screenshots. Except one. The frame where he's looking at his own reflection. Smiling. I keep that saved. As a reminder. Not of him. Of me. Of how close I came to forgetting what real danger looks like. It's not always loud. It doesn't always come with fists or weapons or shouting. Sometimes it just holds the door open. Walks you to your car. Makes you feel seen. And then disappears into the dark, waiting for a new story to tell. End of story. Edit. Okay, well, this blew up. For everyone asking, yes, I'm okay. Yes, she's safe. We check in once a week. And yes, we've both agreed if he tries anything, the next file that drops goes to the media. Okay, yeah, so I wasn't planning to post again, or at least not this soon, but I guess that's just how this kind of thing works, right? One moment you're breathing again, thinking maybe you did what you had to do and now it's over, and then the next you're staring at an unmarked package on your welcome mat like it's ticking. It showed up 3 days ago. No return address, no markings, just a plain padded envelope that looked weirdly too clean, too deliberate. Like someone wore gloves putting it together. Inside, one USB drive and a sticky note with the words, guess you're not the only one who records things. Smiley face, and all. I'm not kidding. It felt like AF ****** parody of itself. I stood there for probably 10 whole minutes before moving. Like my body just froze. I kept turning the note over in my hand like maybe there'd be more, like maybe it would explain itself. Erin was staying over, she's been staying over more since everything, and she found me just standing there in the entryway. I must have looked pale or something because she immediately asked if I was okay. I just handed her the note. We didn't open it that night. She wouldn't let me. Honestly, I didn't even argue. My head was buzzing like I was inside a beehive. We took it to her brother the next afternoon. He's a cybersecurity guy. I've met him once or twice before this, but he didn't ask questions, just brought out an old laptop he doesn't use for anything else and booted it into some kind of isolated mode. I barely understood half of what he did. Erin just squeezed my arm and said we were playing it smart. The first file was titled exactly like this. char_study_v1_final final.mp3, and yes, all caps and underscores, like this psycho thought he was directing a short film. What we heard. It made my whole *****ing blood run cold. It was a recording of me. My voice. Saying things I vaguely remembered saying, but not like this. Not in this order. Not this tone. The more we listened, the more it hit me. He'd spliced together pieces of actual conversations, probably from those nights we stayed up talking in my old apartment, or from voice messages I left him once. And he'd reassembled it, cutting words, shifting context, to make it sound like I was threatening him. Like I was violent. Like he was the victim. There was a part where it sounded like I said, I'm gonna ruin your life. I never said that. Not once. Ever. But the voice was mine. Spliced between a part where I was joking about work and a part where I vented about my cousin's messy divorce. It was horrifying. I don't even know how he got those recordings. Aaron's brother sat there with headphones on, just muttering, Jesus F ***** ing Christ, every few minutes. Then he opened the second file. That one was a document. Like a literal PDF script. Labeled, character_study_the_x_full.pdf. 38 pages long. It read like a psychological analysis written by a failed film student. Like he'd been documenting everything about me, my reactions, my habits, how I talk, how I text, how I argue. But then it started slipping into weird creative writing territory. Like, scene, the X crumbles under pressure. Visual, hands shaking. Voice, tight, strained. He was imagining how I'd act in court. He'd written fake emails. Fake conversations. Entire scenes between us that never happened. I felt sick. Not just creeped out, violated. Like he hadn't just tried to manipulate me when we were together, he was still trying. Still controlling the narrative. Still writing me like I was his character. Like I never left the stage. Erin kept pacing. Her brother asked if I wanted to take it to the police. I said yes. Of course I said yes. We did. We went the next day. The officer, he tried to be professional, I'll give him that, but it was clear this wasn't going to be the kind of case that got urgent attention. No direct threat. No clear crime. Just paranoia fuel. That's how it felt. Like I was bringing them the script of a horror movie and asking them to believe I was living in it. So we're documenting. Erin's writing everything down. Her brother saving screenshots. His cousin, yeah, the one who contacted me, she's putting together her own folder. And the new girl? She's in too. She's scared, but she's angry now. We're building a timeline. A case. A paper trail that shows he's not just messed up, he's escalating. And if that package was his way of flexing? His way of saying I'm still here? Cool. So are we. Okay. Final update, I think. Not because everything's wrapped in a bow or whatever, but because I finally hit that place where I don't feel like I owe this story any more of my time. So, a week after we turned in the USB, Erin's brother calls me, totally out of breath. Says you need to check this link alike now. I open it. It's a forum post. One of those off-brand message boards that's basically a graveyard for wannabe writers and conspiracy theorists. But the thread? It's titled, Odd Fiction Project, The X-Files. He posted the whole thing. Not the dash cam, not the real audio, but everything else. His script. His notes. Screenshots of fake texts between us that never happened. He blurred the names and changed a few dates, but it was so clearly me. Down to how I type. The nicknames. The stupid inside jokes. Stuff no one else would know unless they lived in my skin. The worst part? People were eating it up. Comment after comment like, this is so twisted, I love it, or you can tell it's real because of the raw emotion. One guy even asked if he could option it for a short film. I sat there, just numb. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. It wasn't about being embarrassed or exposed, it was that feeling you get when you realize someone's still puppeteering you long after you've cut the strings. Like you're free, but somehow still dancing. But Erin? She was done. She posted a reply to the thread, just one comment. No names, no drama. Just. Interesting how the main character never got to consent to being portrayed. Wonder if anyone here would feel the same way if it was their trauma being turned into a story for clout. It blew up. And then it spread. Because the internet does what the internet does, someone connected the dots. Another person posted screenshots of his earlier posts on a different forum under a different name. People found the overlap. The fake photos. The timeline inconsistencies. A few of his fans started turning on him. One person, and I will never forget this, said, Bro wrote 38 pages trying to prove he was the victim when all he did was expose himself as a manipulative freak. His post got locked. Then deleted. Then his account was gone. The day after that, his cousin called me. Apparently he'd left town. Didn't say where. Packed up in the middle of the night. She said she wasn't surprised. Said he'd always been the type to set a fire and walk away before the smoke even rose. Do I feel safe now? Honestly, safer than I did. But I'm not naive. People like him don't always come back. Sometimes they just watch. But if he's watching, good. Let him see I'm still standing. Let him see none of his script stuck. And if he ever shows his face again, I'm ready. That's it. That's the whole damn saga. Thanks to everyone who read, replied, messaged, or just sat with me through this weird, angry ride. I'm logging off now. Time to go live an unwritten life.